Okay, picture this. You've got a glass of wine in your hand, you give it a little swirl, you see that gorgeous, deep color, the way it clings to the side of the glass, and then you take a sip, and it's just perfect, right? It's complex, it's balanced, it's elegant. It's one of those simple, amazing pleasures in life. But what you're holding in that glass is so much more than just, well, fermented grapes. It's really the final chapter of this long story that's been written over a whole year. It's a story about sun and soil and a whole lot of careful work by human hands. And that story doesn't start on a warm, sunny day. Nope, it starts right here, in the cold, in the quiet, in the dead of winter, with this gnarled, seemingly lifeless vine. I mean, it looks like something out of a spooky fairy tale, doesn't it? So that's the big question, right? How on earth does that twisted piece of wood become this beautiful, refined liquid in your glass? The whole transformation just seems, well, kind of impossible. But there's a secret, an ancient art, really, that makes it all happen.
All right, so let's get into it. The answer to this whole mystery lies in one single, absolutely crucial act that's done in the coldest months of the year: pruning. And this isn't just about trimming back a few branches. It's a really deliberate, skillful move that basically decides the future of that year's wine.
Now, the official definition here sounds a little intense, right? The elimination of living parts. But it's not about destruction at all. You should think of it more like intelligent design, or maybe like a sculptor working with stone. You're just channeling the vine's natural energy. You're telling it exactly where to focus to create the absolute best fruit. You see, if you just left a grapevine to its own devices, it would go totally wild. It's what's known as an acrotonous plant, which is really just a fancy way of saying it pushes all its growing energy to the buds that are the farthest away. It would just become this huge, tangled mess of leaves and wood, and sure, it would produce grapes, but they'd be tiny and sour. Not exactly what you're looking for in a great bottle of wine. So when we prune, we have a few really clear goals in mind. First and foremost is quality. By limiting the number of grape bunches, you're making sure the vine can pour all its energy into making those grapes super concentrated and packed with flavor. Then you've got longevity and balance. This is all about the long game, giving the vine a strong, stable shape that's going to last for decades. And finally, there's efficiency. A well-pruned vine is just way easier to work with, for everything from spraying to the final harvest. So how is this all actually done? Well, as you can probably guess, there's no single right way to prune a vine. It's a genuine craft with different schools of thought, often mixing these age-old traditions with modern science. And the method you choose really depends on the region, the type of grape, and what the winemaker is trying to achieve. But basically, it boils down to two main approaches. On one hand, you have the traditional vase or goblet system. This is that classic rustic look you see in a lot of old European vineyards, where the vine kind of grows freely like a little bush. And on the other hand, you have the modern trellis system, where the vines are carefully trained along wires. That system is all about order and efficiency, and it's designed to work perfectly with modern machines. And here, you can really see that difference in philosophy laid bare. On the left, you've got that rugged, almost sculptural, vase-pruned vine. It's got character. And on the right, you have the super neat, orderly rows of a trellis system. I mean, they look completely different, but both of these structures are aiming for the exact same goal: creating perfect grapes. And pruning is not a one-and-done kind of thing. It's more like a lifelong conversation with the plant. For the first few years of a vine's life, you have formation pruning. That's basically teaching the young vine what its permanent shape is going to be. Then you have the annual fruiting pruning, which is the main event we've been talking about. And for really old vines, there's even something called rejuvenation pruning to kind of give them a new lease on life. Okay, let's talk about the tools. How does all this cutting actually get done? Well, the technology has changed a lot over the years, but the goal is always the same: make a clean, precise cut. For centuries, this was it. The only tool for the job was a pair of manual shears. And honestly, this is pruning at its most intimate. The pruner is right there, holding the vine, feeling the wood. They're making a whole series of individual, deliberate decisions for each and every plant. It's slow, it's meticulous, and it takes an incredible amount of skill. And then you have the other end of the spectrum. In these massive, modern vineyards, you have pre-pruning machines that do the heavy lifting. They use these powerful rotating blades to clear away most of last year's growth. It's this amazing marriage of brute force and precision engineering, and it saves a huge amount of time and labor. But here's the thing. Whether it's done by hand or by machine, every single one of those cuts has a lasting impact. This is not just a haircut for the vine. It's more like surgery. And just like surgery, it carries both huge rewards and some serious risks that are going to affect that plant for the rest of its life. Because every single cut creates a wound. And those wounds, they're like an open door for nasty wood fungi and other diseases that can get inside the plant and slowly choke off its ability to get water and nutrients. A single bad cut can literally sentence a vine that's been growing for decades to a very slow death. It's serious business. And that's why experienced growers, the real pros, follow a very strict code. They only prune when it's dry out to lower the risk of infection. They disinfect their tools between plants. They try to avoid making big cuts whenever they can. They'll even burn any diseased wood they cut off just to make sure the infection can't spread. It just shows you the deep level of care and respect they have for these plants. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this one simple idea. Pruning is the art of creating balance. It's about finding that perfect sweet spot where the vine is healthy and strong, but not so wild that it starts sacrificing the quality of its fruits. It's all about that perfect equilibrium. So, the next time you pour yourself a glass of wine, just take a second. Try to look beyond the liquid in the glass and see the story that's behind it. Picture that cold winter morning, the sharp glint of steel shears, and the invisible hands that made 1,000 careful, perfect cuts, all to shape that single perfect sip you're about to enjoy.